And here we are in Space Empires. Started the first tactical, or whatever, movement rounds in this turn, which I think is 11. No, actually 12. The red player started shifting his carrier down to try. Actually, he probably doesn't want to do that. He probably wants to finish off that colony. But he moved his cruiser up into this space in order to help escort it home. And blue intercepted with his battle cruiser. So we're going to see a battle here. The battle cruiser goes first. It's got a 5, and their technology is essentially the same. It misses. The cruiser has to fire back on this first round. It's got a 4. It also misses. Battle cruiser gets another shot. Misses. The cruiser is going to withdraw. He knows he's outgunned, even if only barely so. The fight was here, actually. So he's going to withdraw back home. And the battle cruiser remains. However, we still get the attacks here with the fighter, who's a 5. And the carrier, who's a 3. We get 1 hit that destroys the colony. Onward. In the second round, it's the battle cruiser that's driven off, and the carrier is slipping around to get at that extra colony there. They want to prevent blue from growing. Now, blue was planning on using that battle cruiser to come down and destroy this big colony, but they feel like they've got to try to defend their stuff. It's not working too well, though. All they're doing is this stalemate with the cruiser. They don't have enough firepower to take it down all at once. They can only hit it once with this ship. So they've kind of got a situation where that carrier is still raiding. And then for the further movement in the round, first of all, we've been kind of ignoring these guys. Colony ship made it to cast, or at least in the video. Miners coming up to where you can deliver some minerals and get value over here. Another colony ship coming up. Once that miner gets to explore, another miner coming forward. So red is invested heavily into the expansion plan, whereas blue isn't in that position. And right now, the carrier went in and destroyed 2 shipyards up here and is starting to ravage this colony. They're really bringing Terra's force down to about where red was, and red has this possibility for expansion that seems greater. The cruiser slipped through. The battle cruiser attacked it. They both got hits on each other, but then the cruiser could disengage, and it's trying to make its way back to the carrier to help escort it home, or wherever, after its raid is done, because that's a valuable ship, about the same cost as the cruiser, actually. And the battle cruiser is, of course, pursuing, but it just can't get its grip on that cruiser. It's just too easy to disengage in this game. Now we're going to head into the economic phase, and things look pretty good for red at this point. I was about ready to hang in the towel and say red was doomed, but they're managing to get this sort of side of the board action going, and the raids really put blue in the ropes again. We'll see if blue can come back the way red did. Okay, so red bid on turn order and took first again. They want to try to destroy these colonies as quickly as they can. They think having the initiative will help there. Blue took red also built another cruiser and did some technology advances. They're going to be able to build the really big battleships next, which should be even more resilient to combat than the cruiser and battle cruiser have been. So really those things are almost unable to be defeated. They can just be pushed around until a real fleet action over an important resource happens. I mean, that's the thing. If you're not fighting over something important, you're not going to get a result in the combat, which is kind of cool. Why should you be fighting over empty space? Well, to push the other guy out of your way, you can kind of blockade him. But it's easy to slip around in this almost naval movement. Blue's beginning to really feel like their options are getting limited here. They built themselves another battlecruiser and also started researching point defense so that they can handle those fighters that were revealed. They're pretty sure Red's going big on fighters. Now, little do they know that Red's actually building battleships next. But certainly Red is ahead in the tech game, at least for military advances. Remember, Blue spent some of their tech rolls hitting the terraforming. We got a few more things to clean up here. This colony ship creates itself a little colony, and this colony expands. They should actually be done in the opposite direction. And these colonies also grow. Even though they're under attack. Alright, well, I guess we move into the beginning of the next tactical or operational, or whatever you want to call it, movement. So at the end of the operations, Red lost their miner back here due to a endangered ship, but the colony ship found something colonizable and has begun doing so. We got the mineral back. We're getting quite a large little colony set up here. Over here, Red's raids have not been doing terribly well against this colony. They reduced it by 1, but the battlecruiser went forward and continued to be distracted by that heavy cruiser. They could have moved in and made a direct attack, but they wanted to probe and see what they were facing coming towards them at the very least. They're pretty much feeling like they've lost up there. The question is what happens down here. They sent a battlecruiser down. Red didn't respond to that. They didn't move their cruiser down to deal with that. So Red is probably going to build some sort of bases down there to help defend that. Either a shipyard or maybe even a defensive base. But Blue is becoming more and more convinced that they want to slip in and try pulling these Doomsday machines forward. They just have to figure out how to do it right so that they don't bring them over here instead of over here. Of course, Red might lose the game before they do, but it feels somehow less of an honorable victory if they just bring the Doomsday machines to Altair and then hide at Terra and wait for the Doomsday machines to come for them next. Those things may not be powerful enough to take a player out as well. The bases are quite powerful, but on the other hand, the Doomsday machines are too. They're more powerful than the bases. Okay, well, on to another economic phase. Okay, so at the end of this, colonization is proceeding along. Red's growing an empire about as big as Blue's. Blue's hasn't really been totally destroyed yet. Up here, they built another colony ship because they believe they can defend Omicron. They're also researching mine technology. They think that's the way to go against these bigger ships, just knock them out. It's not going to work so well against the carriers, but it'll work really, really well against anything larger. Now, they don't really know that there's anything larger, but it's a good way to clear out those CAs more cheaply. And they're pretty much committed to sending, well, not the battle cruiser, they actually built themselves a little scout. And they have the point defense now, so scouts are kind of cool for them in terms of knocking out the fighters. But they're not really convinced. They don't know where Red's going. It looks like Red's putting their investment into growth, maybe technology or something. Blue's not sure where that's going yet, and they're worried about what's coming up, and they really feel like they have to lead that because they're losing the battle, even though they have the superior ship size out there. Truth of the matter is, Red's gearing up to build itself battleships. It's already got the technology for that size. It just doesn't want to do it. It built themselves a base back here to help defend against this attack, and that's going to be a nasty surprise for that battlecruiser. And probably a waste for blue, actually. That's going to put us back to the beginning of the operations again. Okay, after the first round of this new turn, what do we see? Well, Red consolidated their forces, their raiders, the extra cruiser up there, and started demolishing that colony. They didn't move anything out of here. Actually, they don't have anything. Their miners slipping over. They want to do some exploration. They don't have anything they can capture, colonize right now. So until they find something, they're not going to spend on a big colony ship. Blue shifted their battle cruiser and another ship. Now this happens to be the weak scout. Both sides are kind of unsure here. Red doesn't really think this is a scout, right? And blue isn't sure that there's no red ships there to hit. The battlecruiser slid in, took a damage point from the base there, and decided, hey, this is too tough for me. At this point, blue's got to kind of decide what ship they're going to use to lead the Doomsday machine. They pulled the battlecruiser back because had they moved closer, they would have put them in a position where they're just driving it straight towards the center. And they don't want to do that for the reasons I discussed before. So now we're on the second turn. We'll see what happens. Well, Red managed to destroy Blue's colony. They actually had extra firepower left at the end with the carrier, but they wanted to make sure they wipe it out this time rather than split their forces. Blue, on the other hand, is drawing the Doomsday machines down. It's going to be kind of a scary situation for Red, I think. It may well just bring them to this planet, which is what I didn't really want to do, but I think the Doomsday machines may be sufficient to wipe it out and therefore win the game for Blue. If that happens, I think I'm going to see if Blue can stave them off in the time with whatever they have. All right. And they're actually positioning their fleets for it. Guess we go on to the third phase. So, final situation. Blue keeps diving straight for Altair and pulling the Doomsday machines with them. They're going to pull into here next, which may end up shifting to one of two places. They didn't want to jump into that black hole. They didn't realize that was there when they first made their decision. And now they're pretty much focused where they are. They sent the colony ship over to Omicron to colonize. Not that the game's going to last long enough for that. And the red player has managed to destroy Centauri base as well. So now the red raider fleet's going to try to return back. It can't get back in time to probably deal with the Doomsday machines, but they're hoping they can hold them off. They're going to build a lot of ships this turn, I think. Speaking of which, we are in the economic phase now. Onward. So Red made the choice to go first again this turn. Largely the reason is, and nobody bid on it. Here's the thing. They'd kind of like to have that reactive advantage on Blue. But so long as they have the choice, so long as they're going first, they have the option to go first at 0 cost. As long as there's no bidding. They have the tiebreaker, as it were. So they think that's worth more than any kind of reaction they could get off of Blue. We see Blue's colony was built. Red's colonies have grown. They've built a shipyard here for further exploration. They're gambling, well, maybe not gambling, but expecting that they will be able to hold out. They built a big old battleship, and no, I don't think they built that shipyard, did they? Yeah, they did. Yeah, they built the shipyard. They built the battleship and a fighter. They could have built another fighter had they wanted to, but they think they've got enough to hold out. And it's really kind of a, damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation. If they can't hold out with most of what they have, they're screwed. If it's going to be a close battle for victory against that, the extra fighter isn't going to help. But Really, they probably should have built up their defenses. They're just kind of focused on this, though, and ended up doing that. Blue is of the opinion that, well, we're either going to soften red up with this so much that we can hit them, or red's going to be destroyed, in which case we have to defend against the Doomsday Machines, or red's going to win in the long run. So they built their fleet up with the intention of trying to go in and smack red. These home planets with double bases, cheating, yes, I know, are probably extremely defensible, I would guess. So it's going to be a tough fight for the Doomsday Machines. It's going to be a tough fight to crack somebody's planet. But right now, blue is just so outmaneuvered by what red did up here with their raiders and back here with the exploration, that they're kind of clustered into their rich area where they have, you know, the points here. Now, here's what's funny. If Altair fell, and only Altair, you'd almost feel like red has a chance, just because they're so separated from this. And that's part of why I want to play out, if the Doomsday Machines destroy red, can blue hold them off? Alright, so we'll go on to that, but first I'm going to upload this one because it's taken a decent amount of film, or whatever you call it.